And have you ever seen any women leaders who overcame those imposter syndrome and made some drastic changes?
It's a great question. Again, it's not talked about as much, right? So you never know whether what they are facing or what they have transformed is imposter syndrome or something else, and there are so many layers to what, everybody faces as work, not just, women leaders. Women leaders just have, I think, a few more things stacked up against them, given, primarily, I think through COVID, um, the McKinsey report mentioned, however you slice and dice this, primary caregiving responsibilities at home with families fell on women. Like it was just
Right.
an overwhelming, kind of like evidence of that. And so those, we're still coming off that, right? We talk about being in a post-COVID scenario, but, a lot of the caregiving responsibilities is women. Whether it's with children or older, adults, etc. So again, I wish these transformations were spoken about more so you can only maybe gauge some of that. I mean, I feel you're a great example, Kim. I mean, just listening to your journey of how you, not only transition from a corporate job to a coaching job, but actually the mental, emotional, spiritual struggle that you had. And I'm sure there is a lot more than imposter syndrome possibly going on there, and it's a lot more layered and complex. But just the fact that you were able to, follow your passion and do something that you felt was important for you, and also in service and support of other women leaders, I think that's a classic example of, a successful transformation of overcoming, I'm sure, imposter syndrome, and I'm sure, other things. So I would say you're a great example and you're a great inspiration. And so you should get your story out there more. Um, but I can think of one example, a little early on where I was in business school. I was interning at PepsiCo. The CEO of PepsiCo at that time, Steve Reinemund, was an alumnus of the business school that I had graduated from. And Indra Nui, who is my idol, I don't idolize people much, but like I do think I idolize her, um, was the CFO at that time. And they somehow a meeting got arranged with Indra Nui and myself. I think I was supposed to meet Steve, but I think he was not available. So they took me into a meeting with Indra Nui. I was tongue-tied, because I was at that time, actually, I remember I hadn't yet gotten the internship. So I was interviewing for the internship. It was a high profile kind of a leadership development associate where you rotate around certain functions, etc. Very exciting for me. And I remember walking in and telling her, and I had prepared because I was a software engineer before, so I had prepared like how is this going to work between software engineering and CPG right now? So I had prepared my story of what are all the transferable skills between engineering and CPG, and so I walked in going, and ma'am, I want to tell you about my skills, and she just did this. And she said, I can see your skills. I can see that you're pretty talented. And then I said, but I'm a fast learner. I will learn CPG very quickly. I will learn the industry. And she did this again. And she said, it's okay. I didn't know CPG when I came to, and I'm the CFO of the company.
Wow.
And, at that moment, Ojang, and that was, I think, if you have like few memorable moments in your career, I think that was a moment for me because she just completely normalized it. She said that she didn't know something herself, and she is at the top of her game at this company, which then she eventually went on to become the CEO and was known as one of the more prolific CEOs in American, corporate life, if you may. So just the fact that she normalized it built so much confidence in me. And I think it was the long-term validation that I need. I still think of that incident when I'm thinking of, when I have that inner voice and I'm sitting with it and I'm managing it and allowing it to flow through. I still think of that incident because I'd like to believe, Hojung, that most women face imposter syndrome, but if they were generally they're at the top of their career. The
Mm,
odds are
mm,
potentially a little against them, both internally and externally. But it's more the exception than the rule that they haven't faced imposter syndrome. Most women have.
mm,
And actually just knowing and recognizing that from somebody um, as great as Indra Nui did,
mm,
gave me a whole sense of confidence, I think, just in myself. So I really admire women who are able to, kind of keep doing what they are doing. And it doesn't have to be that you're a CFO or a CEO. My admiration comes from just women who are generally just very self-aware, are
mhm,
able to kind of like normalize this in a
mhm.
very casual, organic way. And possibly they don't even realize it in terms of how much they are helping others by actually doing
Mhm,
that. So, yeah, I would say, going back to, you asked me for some examples of transformations. I would say you are one. Your story of transformation is very inspiring. And I would say, yeah, Indra Nui and how she normalized it for me at that time is something, a professional moment that I keep going back to often.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's so obvious that you are the one of the inspiration by sharing your imposter syndrome here too. I was asking the questions because a lot of people are suffering and we hear about it, all
Yeah,
these things that's blocking them, but
yeah,
we don't really hear from successful women that I had it too. So I think that's why it's important to know that like you and me and like the CEO, like even successful people, we all been there and then maybe we are still having some of those things living with us. And knowing that can really open up the possibility for a lot of women who's struggling. Maybe I'm not a leadership material. Like, yeah, you are.
you are.
Hmm.
I didn't know what the role entailed before I signed up for it too. And look, I'm here. So, I think just normalizing it in very normal, organic words, I think has been for me very powerful. And I try to do that because for me, actually going into a conversation and saying, yes, I have imposter syndrome too. Do you have imposter syndrome? Is a
Hmm.
bit more of a forced discussion where people might not be able to already to discuss it. But like
Hmm.
I take great inspiration from what Indra ma'am said at that time. I didn't know
Hmm.
CPG too, but I'm the CFO right now.
I
Uh,
know.
that was so organic and so
I know.
natural.
And that's coming from this deep confidence. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
The people who don't have confidence will say, like, what is your education? What's your experience? Do you know this? Do you know that? But people who've been there, like, it's okay. I know you can do it. I
Yes.
also see the differences in the leaders, like who has the confidence versus not. So it's
Yeah.
very refreshing to hear that.
And just the fact that she had that confidence in me,
Hmm.
without knowing me, very deeply or closely, I think is just, it's again a lesson for me to trust people
Hmm.
more, to have confidence in
Right,
people more,
right.
to not just hire for the technical skills, but to hire
Mhm.
for more, softer skills, because those are the harder things to achieve and change. You can learn the technical side, stuff,
Definitely.
whether it's CPG or whether it's commerce, you can learn all of
Right,
that.
right,
So I
exactly.
think I just learned so much from that too, from that interaction.